Everyone, this is Lisa Cronin from It's the Little Things in Card Making, and I'm hoping that you can hear me well. I have the air conditioner on. Tried very hard to do this without it. It wasn't happening. So I will try to speak a little louder than usual, and hopefully you can hear me. So I'm making a card for my nephew. It's his 6th birthday. His name is Nevin, and I'm using this new die set that I got last week. This is from Mama Elephant. It's called Letterboard. And it's a very cool set. It's a no-thinking set. It does everything for you. You don't have to measure it out. That's why I kind of like it. What it does is it cuts out your base. And you start off with an A2 size card. Put it up against the die. I do not cut the top scored part of the card. You can do 2 pieces. There's a connector piece that comes with the set. I don't do it that way. I do it this way. And after it cuts, it gives you a shaped base card. And I like that. No thinking, easy peasy. So now we need to make the frame. And again, very little thinking. You're just going to put your die down. This is your letterboard, and it's going to emboss and cut out the letterboard itself. So you would center it as best you can, run it through your die cutting machine, and this is what you get. You get the base, and then you get your letterboard, and you can see the embossing. Now, I'm not going to use it as a letterboard. I'm going to use it as a blackboard. And I've done a few projects using it as a blackboard, and I really like the way it comes out. And it all started with this card. This card was made with this die set. And after I didn't line it up, because those lines, those embossing lines, help you line up your letters. Comes with an alphabet. Everything is attached. You won't lose any pieces. That's the good part. So after I put down everything, put down my letters, I put down the beach ball and the surfboard, and it really kind of looked a little empty. So I started playing with it, and I put in a couple of flowers and today's special, because it is kind of like a menu. It could be a menu board as well, today's special. Yeah, and that's what gave me the idea of not doing it as a letterboard, but doing it as a blackboard, and it's very cool. I use Hero Arts White Unicorn ink. It's a pigment ink. Works great for embossing, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So, since I'm not going to be using the piece that came out, this piece, because after all it's a blackboard, we need black paper. What I did was I took this piece out, took a piece of black paper. I didn't want the lines in it, so I just cut a piece of black cardstock, and this is heavyweight cardstock because I'm going to be embossing on it. And I just traced out the shape and the size. That's it. No more do we have to work with the dies. So I'm going to put them aside. Now, I did a lot of this kind of off camera, because this can be a little time consuming, and I'm trying to stay keep your attention, of course, but I'm trying to stay within like 20 minutes. So what I've done was I took that piece of black cardstock and I started stamping. Now this is going to fit in between this, which I'm calling the frame, and you know how much I love my frames, and the base. So that's what we got so far. But I wanted to personalize it. I wanted to put Nevin's name in. And his name is spelled Nevan. So So the first thing I had to figure out is where did I want it on this. So I had my MISTI, put it into my MISTI, and I wanted to kind of start I wanted the bottom of my letters to be right about here. I didn't want to cut off the line from the balloon. And as you can see, I've already heat embossed the 2 sentiments. This I left just with the white pigment ink. I did not emboss it. And the reason why I didn't emboss it is because I want to emboss his name. And I want his name to go across. So the first thing I did was decide where do I want it. And I decided that I wanted the bottom of the letters. And the letters are about, I'm going to say, yeah, almost 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, almost 3/4 of an inch. So I kind of wanted them right here. So the first thing that I do is I cut a piece of cardstock, thick cardstock, and I put it in my MISTI, and it's about 2 1/4 inches from the bottom. So now I'm going to take this out. I have a piece of typing paper in my MISTI already, and that is flush up against the bottom, and that's important. It's important that this be straight and squared, and this be straight and squared. So I already have my letters. I've already kind of positioned them in my MISTI, and you can see they're kind of far away, and there's a reason for that. But what I did was I took each letter, and I did not use the bottom of the stamp of the backing of the stamp. I did not use that as a guide. I used the letter itself, the bottom edge of the letter, and I butted up against this guide. Excuse me, this guide now. And this guide is going to be where I place all of my letters. And then I'll pick them up. Now we want to see how well we position them. We want to make sure they're straight. We want to make sure they're even, and they're not. And I did that on purpose. So I'm going to ink them up with black ink. And this is just to get the alignment, just to get them exactly where I want them. So I ink them up, stamp them down, and now I want to see how we did as far as straight. Are these letters straight? The N looks good, the E looks good, the V looks good, the A looks a little off. Like I need to kind of move it and straighten it out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my A, I'm going to look at my grid, and I'm going to look and see where the other letters are. I'm going to look to see where the line is on the A. I'm so sorry, you didn't see all that. And that's what I need to straighten out because it's kind of tilted this way a little bit. Let me put a piece of something underneath so you can see what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is I'm looking here, and I'm looking to see if it's straight, and I'm using that grid line right there to see if it's straight, and it needs to kind of come up a little bit, just the tiniest bit. And then I'm going to try it again. I'm going to stamp it again. So what I'm doing is I'm stamping my letters. I know I'm not on camera. I'm going to try to stay in frame. I'm going to turn this around. Make sure it's flush. Stamp it again. And again, look at my guide to see if in fact all of the letters are sitting right above my guide, and they are. Now I know all of my letters are straight. They're all on the same line. I should have no problem. But we need to see if in fact that's true. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a clean piece of my scrap. I am going to ink up one letter at a time. So I'm inking up my N and I'm laying it down. Now I need to ink up my E. And I need to move this paper. Again, I want it flush. There's my E. I'm going to move my paper over. Make sure it's flush on the bottom, that it's up against the bottom of the MISTI. And I'm going to move my E around, my N around, just by moving it back and forth along that bottom line. So I am now going to position that. I'm going to look at my E and see if in fact that's how close I want it to the N. And I think I want it a little closer, so I'm going to move the N over. Now I'm going to, forgot something very important. Okay, I'm going to take a piece of scrap paper. Now that I know that my E is in the right position, I want to take scrap paper and cover my N. I want to cover my V and my A also, because there's ink on there. And I moved it. Just a little bit more. And the same way I'm protecting my paper is the same way I'm going to be protecting what I'm working on. But this is going to let me know, it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to let me know that the letters are straight, and we won't know that until the whole name is put down, and if it's going to fit well on this. So it also helps with measuring. Alright, so there's my N and my E. I'm going to do my V. I want to see where I want that V to be on my paper. I'm going to be moving only my paper. Make sure that it stays flush to the bottom. And maybe if we use the magnet, that will help. That'll probably help a little. Okay. And at this point, it's kind of all by eye. You can't really measure the distance between the letters. So I am going to, I found out that's where I wanted it. I'm going to cover my other letters and then cover my A here and bring it down. Now I could see that it's a little further away from the E than the E is to the N, so I'm just going to move it a tiny bit. And I'm going to try that again. And it really is all trial and error. I mean, to be able to get the letters where you want them so that they are all even. And that's pretty much where I stamped it before. I'm going to move over my paper underneath and now stamp it down. And I like that better. Now we're going to do the A. So I'm going to make sure it's flush. I'm going to take my ink, do my A, And where do I want my A? I want my A to be about the same distance that the E is from the V and from the N. If you bring it down a little bit more, you have a better chance at getting it right, but I'm not laying it down yet. I want to make sure that all my other letters are covered. But still, I want to leave room for that A to come down. And there's my A. That can be a little closer too. So I'm going to move my paper. And this is just for placement. If you know that the line is there and you know that they're all pretty much even and that it looks straight, yeah, not bad. You can always take your original. See, I took my original guide, and all my letters, they look good, they look straight, they look even. And now to do the N, and I don't have to move any of my letters. All I'm moving is my paper, and I'm moving my paper now this way because I want that N. So if you have double letters in the name, this is a good way to do it. Instead of having to pick up your letters, try to place them down, make sure that they're even. I found this was the best way for me. And I'm just making sure it's straight. And I'm going to move it over just the tiniest bit. And as long as your paper stays, as long as your scrap stays flush against this bottom line, you don't have to worry about it being not lined up. Disaligned, misaligned, not aligned. Okay, so now my N is going to go down. And let's cover everything else up. Just get in the habit of doing that, because otherwise it's very easy to get ink on your project. And that looks good to me. And I'm going to put it back in, put it flush up against the bottom of the MISTI, bring my little guide in, and see how that all worked out. And it looks pretty good. It's all even. So it looks really good. So what I want to do now is I want to take this piece, Nebbin, and I just want to make sure that it's going to be right about here. But I want to see where I need to start my letters. And it's almost the whole width of this paper here. So I'm going to do about 1/8 of an inch, maybe even a little bit more, and maybe squeeze my letters together a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. I'm going to put this in, and this is what's going to move now. So I'm going to take this, my little guide, and you could see this is where my letters are going to be, maybe from here to here. And it's going to go across. So the first thing we need to do is clean off the black ink off my letters with the chamois. Okay. Now we're going to start inking up with the white. And I'm going to be embossing one letter at a time. I'm going to put some of my anti-static powder, blow off the excess, and start lining up my letters. And all I'm doing is pretty much just moving my black cardstock. I like it there. I'm going to put down my magnet, not knowing how much ink might be on the E and the V. I am going to cover that up. I'm going to put my N where I want it. And the first thing I'm going to do is ink it up, place it down, take a look. Now, I'm going to do each letter individually, one at a time. That's the only way this could be done. So, if I was just stamping with dye ink, I could maybe go right to the next letter. But since I'm not, and I'm embossing, there's no way I can do another letter next to it until this is heat set. There's my N. Now, I'm going to put this on the side again. I'm going to give it a second. Now I want to do my E. I'm going to clean off my N, because I'm going to need that N again. I'm going to go to my E. I want to see where I want that E to land. Probably right there. Yeah. I'm going to hold this in place. I'm going to cover my N, and I'm also going to cover the V and the A. So all I have to think about is that E. I'm now going to stamp it up. Press it down. Add my embossing powder. Heat it up. Put it back in. Clean up my E. Position my cardstock again. The V. Get an idea of where I want it, and that looks good to me. I'll hold it in place with my magnet. I'm going to cover up the other letters as I did before. But leave room for my V. It's going to be tight, but let's see. Make sure my card is protected from the other letters. Drop it down. Get my embossing stuff. Shake off the excess. Heat this back up. Wipe off my V. Put it back in. My A is all the way over here. So let's see. Going to yeah, that looks good. I'm going to hold it in place with my magnet. I'm going to touch it a little bit with the anti-static tool. I got my A. Protect the other letters. Looks good. And now my N. So now I have to, I'm going to wipe off the A. I'm going to bring my cardstock right about here. And it's okay that it's sticking out of the MISTI. I want it right about there. So I am going to put my magnet, little wipe, and I don't have to protect anything because the only letter that is near my cardstock is the N. Bring this over. Maybe when that melts, that little hole will get filled in. And then heat set it. Wipe it off, close it up, and this is how it's going to be. Now I am going to color in the balloon. I am going to put a few clouds around. It will look very chalky, and Nevin will have his name on his birthday card. Isn't that cool? Okay, well I hope you found it interesting. I hope it inspired you to try. I hope you have some stamps, some letter stamps that you could practice with. It does take a little practice and some patience, but it's very cool. And kids love seeing their name on a card. And an unusual name like Nevin, there's no way. I mean, there's no way they'd find this in a regular store. So I want to say thank you for stopping in. If you like my video, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up. Comment, ask any questions. I'll answer any questions you may have. Please give me a comment. Let me know what you think about my videos. Do you want to see more, less? Are they too long? Is my air conditioner really bothering you? Let me know. So yeah, it's Lisa Cronin for It's the Little Things in Card Making. And thank you for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Stay well. Until next time. Bye now.